Welcome back to the Flannel Rocket, the show with everything you need to know about Michigan startup scene. I'm Pete Martin, and I am pumped to bring you the news on all the great things happening in our state. Today, we're covering some major announcements from Mackinac Policy Conference, a $2 billion with a B funding round, Michigan showing up on the National Venture Capital Funding Map, and a bunch more that you're going to want to stick around for. Let's go. We're going to start off with a little recap on Mackinac Policy Conference. So last year, the big theme was around innovation. We announced the Chief Innovation Ecosystem Officer in Ben Marchiona. We had a really cool shout out for Michigan Founders Fund when I was there. And we just talked about how we were able to build great things. Great things are coming in Michigan. This year, the common thread that I caught, I wasn't there, but I caught, they had live streams. We caught up this morning. It's great. The common theme that I heard this year was storytelling and about how Michiganders are so good at building, but we don't brag and we don't tell people about the fact that we're building these great things. I love it. I love it. I am fully aligned with this narrative. It is kind of the reason that the show exists. So fully agree. The time has come to brag. Let's do that. Please start. Do it. Brag about yourself. Brag about somebody else if you're more comfortable and the work that they're doing. If you know somebody in Michigan that's doing some incredible work, put a comment on this video and let them know how much you appreciate the work that they're doing. Make a habit out of this stuff so that we can move past Midwest humble and really show the world how great we all are. I appreciate the fact that this storytelling thread, this gap that exists in Michigan's startup scene, or really in Michigan in general, it feels like it's coming to a close. There's a bunch of stuff. I know a bunch of people that are working on things in this space so that we can be better as a state about telling our own story. Very excited for all of this to come together. Super cool. Next, we've got the Make Michigan Home program. So there's over $700,000 available in financial assistance for founders, for recent college students that want to build in Michigan. That's housing assistance, it's relocation services, it's co-working spaces, it's memberships, it's art and culture experiences. It's worth checking out. So grants have been awarded to organizations around Detroit and Grand Rapids and Flint and Traverse City that are all part of this. Also, there's a new program that just launched at Mackinac Policy Conference that gives free access to Michigan's state parks and discounts to Michigan destinations like Boyne and Bamboo Co-working. I think this is just the beginning of how Michigan is putting emphasis on, we know people are looking to build here, to move back here, and we're finally rolling out the red carpet for that. Very excited to see this grow in a big way. We also heard at Mackinac Policy Conference that DTE and Consumers Energy have committed combined $3.5 billion annually to spend on Michigan businesses. Love seeing that. I love seeing Michigan businesses commit to investing in Michigan and buying from other Michigan businesses. This is the circular economy that we all need. Very cool. There's also a new hub for Michigan's manufacturing businesses. So if you own a manufacturing business or you know someone that owns a manufacturing business in Michigan, there's a bunch of free resources available to do upskilling, get connected with partners and advisors, learn more about how to get connected to defense contracting, and the ways that you can just grow here in Michigan. I love that. I want to see more there. I haven't seen this yet, so please somebody tell me if I'm incorrect here, but I would love to see Michigan really take advantage of the fact that there's a huge push for onshoring and re-domesticating supply chains and manufacturing in general. And I would love to see more incentives there for businesses to be procuring supplies from other Michigan manufacturing businesses in a similar way to how DTE and consumers are doing it, but at a larger scale. That would be really cool. Next, Saab has broken ground on a $75 million state-of-the-art munitions facility here in Michigan, in Grayling. Saab has 22,000 employees across the globe. This is their first investment in Michigan. They have a 60-acre site that's going to create over 70 jobs. They also have an office that they're opening in Auburn Hills. This is all part of a larger 388 acres that Saab has purchased in Grayling, 3.5 miles away from Camp Grayling, which is the home of the Michigan National Guard. And if you don't know, like I didn't know, Camp Grayling has the Joint Maneuver Training Center. It's the largest National Guard training facility in the United States. It spans over 147,000 acres of training land throughout Crawford County and 113 square miles of restricted airspace. Camp Grayling is the biggest reason that Saab is in Michigan. The ability for them to work with the folks at Camp Grayling is the biggest reason that they're here in Michigan. Super cool. Now, this was supported by a $3.5 million Michigan Business Development Program grant from the MEDC, and there is just a ton of good stuff that is going to come to the state because of this investment from Saab, and I suspect that that's going to grow over time as well. All right, so that's it for the Mackinac Policy Conference. There's a ton of announcements that happened on the island. Lots of great things coming to the state. Lots of focus on how we can do great things. We can do hard things. Firm believer. We can do hard things. I would also add the caveat from Luke Cooper. We can do hard things and not be hard people. Like, you don't have to be an asshole to do wonderful things here in Michigan. And it's very Midwest culture to not be a jerk and also to do great things. So that's our culture. That's our superpower. Let's go. Okay, next, the Uncrewed Triple Challenge here in Michigan. I am obsessed with this thing. It is so cool. There was a 3-part challenge for autonomous drones. It took place over land, air, and sea. It is so awesome to see this. The sea portion was over 5 nautical miles. The air portion was over 58 nautical miles. The land portion was over 23 meters. Can't be meters. That's got to be a typo. It's got to be nautical miles. I'm assuming it's just going to be 23 nautical miles. So there's autonomous drones that competed to take cargo from point A to point B over land, air, and sea. And they had competitors from 7 states across 2 countries. There were 3 overall winners that were announced. That was Sifley, Mythos AI, and then DataSpeed, which is based here in Rochester Hills, was one of the 3 overall winners. But this competition, using drones, using autonomous drones, using Michigan's geographic advantage, the fact that we have this Camp Grayling, almost 150,000 acres of space, using that to leverage this dual-use technology, leverage drones, leverage autonomy. I love that so much. I think incredible things are going to come from this. I can't wait to see the next one. Really want to be there next time, everybody. And if you didn't know, this is cool for so many reasons. There are nearly 4,000 companies in defense and aerospace in Michigan. Michigan leads the U.S. in the concentration of electrical and mechanical engineers. The University of Michigan is the number 4 for graduate aerospace engineering programs. And Michigan is top 10 for aerospace manufacturing attractiveness. And you've got Saab right there in Camp Grayling. There's a bunch going on in defense. And to top that off, there's one more bit of news, the Arsenal Alliance, which I think is awesome. Sterling Heights, where I grew up, and Warren have come together to invest $500,000 annually to attract defense. They're helping to support the 47,000 jobs in defense and the billions of dollars in annual defense contracts that come into Macomb County. And so they are effectively helping businesses that want to work with the government, that want to work with the DoD. If you're in defense, if you're building a defense, in general, you should be looking at Michigan. If you're in Michigan, you might want to be looking at Macomb County. You might want to be looking at Sterling Heights. You might want to be looking at Warren because they are specifically trying to help folks in that space. So if you're in defense, that's a good place to start here in Michigan. Okay, next bit of news. I love this news. CARTA has come out with a startup ecosystems ranking by stage, right? So pre-seed all the way up to Series C. And it's fun to see these. I look at these all the time. The Bay Area is always on top. New York's number 2 all the time. And then you have like Boston and LA. And then you've got kind of a smattering of other cities. This is the first time that I recall seeing Detroit on the map. Detroit came in at number 15 in pre-seed. So we've cracked the top 15. And now Detroit has been the number 1 emerging startup ecosystem in the Western Hemisphere for years. But now we're starting to see how much that's growing and how we're climbing the rankings across the country. So Detroit cracks the top 15 at pre-seed. And also in that same chart from CARTA, Detroit has cracked the top 10 at Series B, where it came in at number 9. And I find this extremely interesting because we know that Michigan's startup scene is different. It is not a city. It is not a single city in Michigan. It is the entire state. It's Detroit and Ann Arbor and Grand Rapids and Lansing and Traverse City and Marquette and Houghton and Flint and everywhere else too. But it is awesome to see our cities shining on this report. The city of Detroit is rising. The state is rising. This is yet another data point showing how rapidly things have been changing here in Michigan. And I got a shout out to Wei Duncan, the COO of Y Combinator Max Bankjoy, hanging out in Royal Oak, for sharing the news here. Next, there's a $2 billion funding round that just got closed here in Michigan. Acrisure has raised $2 billion from Bain Capital at a $32 billion valuation. That's a 40% increase from just 3 years ago. So Acrisure is absolutely on a tear. They have now crossed over 900 acquisitions. They have made 900 acquisitions. This company, unbelievable. Most recently, they've announced that they've acquired Heartland Payment Systems. Unbelievably cool to see. Rapid rise in valuation. 19,000 employees now. This is a really cool company that has been built right here in Michigan. Next, Cubeworks a few weeks ago announced a $440,000 raise. It's a small raise, but I love what this company is building. So Cubeworks has they're like smart labels that can provide location and temperature tracking for food and perishables. So if you're transporting food or any other kind of perishable good, Cubeworks has a smart label that acts like a sensor that can tell you the location of that food, where it is, what temperature it is, so you know that it's being transported safely. You can apply their smart labels to pallets, to boxes, to individual items. This is phenomenal technology, and it totally makes sense because Michigan is like the logistics and supply chain capital of the world. So of course we'd be building technology in the space. Next, Buell Motorcycle is investing $18.5 million to support their growth in West Michigan. If you don't know Buell, they make motorcycles, obviously, that compete with BMW and Ducati. So they're 30% lighter, they've got 30% more horsepower than any other American-made models, and they've already got 6,000 pre-orders for their new Super Cruiser. And they are, with this investment, they are quadrupling their staff from 50 to over 200. And is supported by a $1 million Michigan Business Development Program grant. Super cool to see the state coming behind another cool company being built right here in Michigan. Next on the list, we've got Bask Detroit. This one's new to me, and I think it's really cool. Brian Falther, he's a former unicorn founder of Bowery Farming, which is a vertical farming startup that was headquartered in New York City. He's back in Michigan with a new company called Bask Detroit, which is focused on the wellness space. They have a membership that includes cold plunges and saunas, because that's the proper way to pronounce the word. Sauna, not sauna. Sauna. It's Finnish. We got a lot of Finnish people in Michigan. Go to the UP. Sauna. Their grand opening was recently, and if you're in Detroit and you want to check out a very cool new spot, this one is for you. Bask Detroit, there's one location right for now, but I suspect that there's lots of high growth potential for what is being built here. Next, AquaAction has decided to open their U.S. headquarters here in Michigan, in Detroit. AquaAction is a nonprofit that has already helped over 100 water tech companies launch and scale to help tackle the global freshwater crisis. They're expecting to generate hundreds of new jobs here in Michigan, and it totally makes sense. Michigan is already the #1 state for clean tech in the U.S., and given how the state is surrounded by 20% of the world's fresh water, and AquaAction is trying to focus on solving problems affecting fresh water, we are naturally the right place for them to be. We're naturally going to be the water tech capital of the world. Bring it on. Super cool to see. Next on the list, we got Wayne State with a $200 million life science building that's been announced, breaking ground this fall at 160,000 square foot health sciences research building. It's going to be focused on oncology, translational neuroscience, systems biology, and immunology, and metabolism and infectious diseases. So many things. Really cool stuff is coming. That is coming to Detroit. And this is in addition to U of M's $250 million Center for Innovation that's opening up in spring of 2027, and also in addition to MSU's $335 million partnership with Henry Ford Health to create a health sciences research center also opening in 2027. And all of that is in addition to Dan Gilbert's massive life sciences center that's coming to Detroit. Incredible things are coming. Massive investments are being made here in Michigan. And there's one more. Kalamazoo, this is actually open. Kalamazoo just opened a 162,000 square foot building serving students from all 9 of Kalamazoo's school districts. They get to learn about 22 different career pathways like plumbing and culinary arts and medical laboratory sciences and cybersecurity in this really flexible space that is designed to train the talent of the future, no matter what that future looks like. Classes start in August. They've already got 1,300 students enrolled, and it's funded by a $100 million anonymous donation. Anonymous donation. It just goes to show you that there's a lot of wealth here in Michigan. Shout out to Bobby Hopewell, former mayor of Kalamazoo, for letting me know about this one. Very cool. Next on the list, Black Tech Saturdays received a $1 million grant from the MEDC to expand their work statewide. They're going to be doing lots of micro events around the state, And they're also reserving about $150,000 of this $1 million for pitch competitions to be held at Black Tech Saturdays meetups at New Lab in Detroit. Very excited to see that too. Next one, you might not have heard this, but as an Apple fanboy and former Apple employee, I am super geeked. Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, one of the most valuable companies in the world, one of the most influential companies in the world, is coming to Michigan. He's got the keynote presentation at Tech Week Grand Rapids on September 15th. Show up in Grand Rapids for this one. This is going to be absolutely awesome. Can't wait to see it. Okay, we're going to move on to a special section of the show. This is a new segment of the show that we're going to do called MEDC Watch. There's a ton happening at the MEDC right now. Lots of budget scrutiny that we should all be paying attention to. So we're going to give you updates on what's happening as we go through the summer. So everybody can kind of stay up to speed on all the things that are happening at the MEDC. In the latest news, the Senate has passed an initial budget that cuts $59 million from some of the MEDC's programs. And there are some folks in the House that are open to cutting the entire $115 million. That is really interesting. If this funding from the MEDC were to be cut, it would really limit their ability to support some of these large businesses that are trying to come to Michigan, support some of the startups that are in Michigan that are trying to grow. We've already talked about a couple of the things that happened in this episode, right? Buell Motorcycle received up to $1 million from the state of Michigan. Saba's received $3.5 million in a Michigan Business Development Program grant. There are companies that are coming to Michigan, some of them large multinational companies that are making their first investments in Michigan, that are going to be here for a long time, et cetera, that are receiving some incentives from Michigan in order to come here and stay here. That's what this funding is used for. So it turns out there's a public list of companies that have received funding from the MBDP, the Michigan Business Development Program. I went into it. I dove into it. It's pretty cool to see the number of high-growth companies that have been supported by the state. And so here's some examples. Rivian received $1.7 million in 2015. They went on to raise billions of dollars and had the largest global IPO of 2021. Duo Security received $2.5 million in 2016. 2 years later, they sold for $2.3 billion. They were the first unicorn exit in Michigan. They spawned 80 millionaires when they exited. Lineage received $850,000 in 2017. They later went on to have the largest global IPO of 2024 with tens of thousands of employees. They had the largest global IPO of last year, and they got this funding 8 years ago. So it takes a while for this stuff to come through, but my goodness, the value there is pretty extreme. Graham at Grand Rapids Aseptic Manufacturing received $1 million in 2018. They have since invested $100 million in a new facility in West Michigan. They announced that last year. Acrisure, who just raised $2 billion at a $32 billion valuation, they got $1 million in 2019. They have 19,000 employees, and they now have $5 billion in revenue. May Mobility in 2020 received $700,000. They got another $1 million in 2023. They also raised $105 million in a Series D later in 2023. They're now partnered. They just 30 days ago announced a partnership with Uber to deploy thousands of robotaxis. They also have a partnership with Lyft where they're going to be deploying their services this summer. Ticker received $500,000 in 2023. Their CEO was just speaking of a Mackinac Policy Conference about building here in Michigan. Calumet Electronics, $7.5 million in 2023. 1 month later, they received a $40 million award from the DoD to help onshore advanced electronics and position Michigan as a domestic source for semiconductors and defense supply chains. That's hundreds of jobs in the UP. Hundreds of jobs. Super cool. Payload CMS, Y Combinator-backed company in Grand Rapids, received $300,000 in 2023. They're backed by Google's Gradient Ventures, and they're backed by MongoDB. Their popularity has more than tripled since then. Last one, Luxwall, received $6 million in 2023. The next year, last year, they raised a $51 million Series B, and they got a $32 million grant from the DOE. Massive. That company is going to be absolutely amazing. From what I can tell, you make these investments in companies so that they can grow here, do great things here. And the companies that I've looked at, these are high growth companies that lots of us know the names of now. They've gone on to do incredible things. Super cool. All right, we're going to end with a fun fact. And the fun fact is right here. It's Kronk Gym. And if you don't know about Kronk Gym, you're freaking welcome. Here we go. So it starts with Emanuel Steward, the godfather of Detroit boxing. This started in the basement of the Kronk Recreation Center in Detroit. Emanuel Steward was training boxers there. In 1980, Hilmer Kenty, who was being coached by Emanuel Steward, won a lightweight world title. And then a few months later, another person that was being coached by Emanuel Steward, that you might know the name of, Tommy Hearns, captured the welterweight title. Tommy then went on to become the first fighter ever to win world titles in 5 different weight divisions. And Emanuel Steward freaking revolutionized boxing by training over 40 world champions from here in Detroit at Kronk. So cool. Now, he passed away in 2012. The original Kronk Recreation Center was demolished in 2018, and the company ended up closing during the pandemic. But now, as maybe you can tell, the brand is back, and the gym is coming back, and the Steward family is still involved. And this is a Michigan startup story, too. So Kronk's CEO is a guy by the name of Paul Body, who ran operations for a company called Secure24 in Southfield, while they scaled to a 600-employee company. They were acquired in 2018 from, everything I can tell, this is a mid-9-figure deal, so hundreds of millions of dollars. They were acquired in 2018, and Paul is continuing his commitment to Detroit and Michigan through the Kronk brand. So Paul is at a high-growth company here in Michigan, and they have a great exit. And then Paul is committed to Michigan. He's committed to Detroit. He finds the Kronk brand. He brings the Kronk brand back, and he's doing it the right way. They're bringing the brand back. They're bringing the gym back. They're bringing back everything. It's so cool. Love, love, love that. All right, that's it. Thank you. Appreciate you for watching this stuff. Keep your eyes peeled, because at some point soon, we're going to have a really special episode coming up. I'm excited for you to see that. In the meantime, if you like what you see, I hope you subscribe. I hope you tell every single person that you know. And we'll see you next time on the Flannel Rocket.